Welcome. I'm David Rusenko, GM for Square's e-commerce team. I'm so happy to be speaking with Alyssa Henry today. And I'm not just saying that because she's my boss. Alyssa leads Square's seller ecosystem, which spans every team and function that touches our seller business. Welcome.
Thanks, Dave. It's great to be here today in the Oakland office. It's crazy. I think this is the first time we've seen each other in person in over a year. Excited to be here, although at a safe distance.
I agree. It's been quite the wild year, which actually brings us to our topic here today. We're going to be chatting about what we're seeing in regards to accelerated omni-channel adoption from both buyers and sellers, and a little bit about what comes next and how Square's thinking about empowering developers to build those future-looking solutions. You ready to get started?
Let's do it.
So 2020 brought a lot of changes for sellers and rapid adoption of online channels as sellers adapted their business models to the new environment. But now there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and many businesses are reopening in full. What comes next? Do you think this trend is here to stay, or are we going to see a reversion away from some of these newer online solutions?
Yeah, I think many of these trends are here to stay. These trends already existed even pre-pandemic, but were not as widespread. And what we saw was just a pull forward and acceleration of adoption by several years. And the reason why I think they're here to stay is because they're what buyers and consumers want, right? We're all consumers, and we know that we want the convenience of being able to shop online, pick up in store, pick up curbside, to be able to order online, return in store, all the various combinations. We know that this is what we want as consumers, and we know that businesses that are going to succeed are going to have to provide what consumers want. So I believe definitely that these trends are here to stay.
So you kind of mentioned you think things will stay the same. I mean, now that a lot of businesses are reopening, maybe some sellers went online and now they're kind of considering, do you think that that's going to go away and just kind of go back to how it was, or do you think that'll kind of keep on going?
Well, I think the most successful businesses are going to figure out how to maintain and do both. We've talked to a number of sellers who have businesses in areas that have fully reopened so far. And they've said, and what they've seen is by keeping the online channel open, in addition to the in-store, they're actually seeing more business than they'd had with just the in-store channel pre-pandemic. And so being able to use multiple channels to deliver to your customers and meet them where they are really is a way to expand and grow your business.
So there's a word for that. A lot of people call that omnichannel. But what does omnichannel mean for you, and how do we think about omnichannel at Square?
Well, omnichannel is a buzzword, but it's a useful one that we use. At its core, it is helping sellers meet buyers where they are. It really is that connection between buyers and sellers doing business the way buyers want. That's kind of the omni part of the word. Then the channel comes down to kind of where commerce is taking place. And we think about a number of different channels where consumers want to connect with sellers. So obviously there's the in-person channel, right? I don't think the store is going away anytime soon. It's going to remain an important channel, but it's not the exclusive channel. Next is online, and that's a trend that's been going on for a while. Websites, online stores, the like. Next channel. Beyond that, we think about messaging and messaging as a channel. And the old school way of messaging, which is still actually quite prevalent, is you pick up the phone and you call the business and you place your order, or you ask them a question, or whatever it is that you need to do. That's going to continue to exist, but more and more the messaging channel is also getting digitized, with buyers wanting to connect with sellers via SMS or via Facebook Messenger or a number of other ways. Similarly, I mentioned Messenger. That kind of starts to get into the next channel, which is social. Messenger kind of bridges between messaging and social, and we're seeing more and more sellers or more consumers want to connect with businesses via these social channels that they're on. So I think that's another key channel in the omnichannel strategy and omnichannel selling. And then finally, marketplaces. We know that many consumers start their search for a good or service in one of many marketplaces. And we know that sellers want to meet those buyers, pick up the demand that's coming through those channels, and be present there.
So what about Square's approach makes our omnichannel approach unique, and what's the role for platform here?
Yeah, you mentioned the P word. And so platform is fundamentally how we're approaching this. Our platform is the layer underneath all of our first-party products, but it's also the layer that we expose via our APIs, via our open platform for third-party developers. The platform consists of a set of primitives, which are entities with a set of operations that you can do on them. And those entities are shared across both our first-party products and then the third-party products that integrate with them. So an entity might be an order, right, which has a collection of items that are in the order and attached payment types and a fulfillment method and whatnot. An entity might be a customer, a buyer record, right, with their name and their contact information and maybe their preferences and what their last services were. There's a whole bunch of these, and we've really been building out over the last several years, but even accelerating over the last year, the number of these primitives that we are exposing and have exposed through our APIs. I think in the last year alone, we launched 9 major new API surface areas that enable third-party developers to connect into the ecosystem, to build on and expand on it, and build new solutions.
So you mentioned that Square has an open platform. That was a deliberate decision that we made. Can you share a bit about why it's so important at Square to have an open platform, emphasis on the word open?
Yeah. Well, one, because that's what sellers want. I think it's important that no one wants their data locked in. No one wants to be forced to use only the solutions from a single vendor. So we believe that it's important to have an open API, one, so that our sellers aren't locked in. Their data isn't in a closed environment. Their customer data is their customer data, and if they want to have access to it, they should be able to have access to it. It also enables us to solve the portions of a seller's problem that we're good at, and it allows third parties to solve the portion of the seller's problems that they're good at with. But still then, by leveraging the shared underlying platform, you can get a more cohesive solution so that the pieces and the parts all work together in a way that they couldn't otherwise.
So the importance of building on shared primitives is also a really salient insight for our audience, who are building integrations to Square's ecosystem, and often to more than one product or piece of our ecosystem. Why should developers and prospective partners be excited about our approach to building a platform?
Well, one of the things that we hear from developers that are building with Square primitives and on our platform is that it gives them access to distribution in some ways to all of the millions of sellers that are using Square. So if you come up with a great solution that is unique and extends the capabilities of the platform, you now can pitch it to the millions of sellers that are using Square. You have the ability to list in our app marketplace, which we recently enhanced and relaunched, and so continuing to build out the functionality and the size of our sales team, which again, in many cases, they're selling combo solutions that are a combination of our first-party products and then third-party solutions which really bring together the whole solution set for the customer. So I think it's both the ability to leverage the technology underneath, but it's also the ability to leverage Square as a distribution channel.
Yeah, and speaking of, I am also really glad that Square Online is going to be joining the platform party.
Yeah, so I'm thrilled that we're now building APIs around Square Online. This is really exciting. Maybe you can share a little bit about why you decided to start investing in this area and building these APIs.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things our sellers really love is just the ease of using Square Online, but we've heard from many of them that they really want to be able to extend with using other apps and integrating that. And so this was really a great time to start opening up those APIs, and really excited actually to be launching the Snippets API, which is kind of this general purpose integration, but it allows developers to integrate a block of code onto the site. And this really allows all kinds of integrations, anywhere from marketing integrations to analytics integrations to customer support integrations and all the way on down. So it really opens up a whole world of possibilities for integrating with sellers who use Square Online.
That's awesome. I can start to imagine the possibilities there. Maybe you talk a little bit about why you think developers should be excited about building to it.
Sure. I mean, I think there's a few main reasons. One is just 2020 was a year of moving online for a lot of sellers, and we really saw this huge wave of adoption in sellers adopting Square Online. So a lot of them were really using Square Online, obviously, to expand online, but also just to reach more customers and find efficiencies in their operations as well. Number two, Square Online is not just what you would expect out of retail e-commerce, but we've actually seen a lot of adoption from sellers who, a lot of restaurant sellers, a lot of salons, a lot of other service businesses, as well as a lot of sellers that are just blurring the lines between what you typically think of as one vertical. Another reason is just that Square Online actually has this rich feature set that goes beyond your typical online store. That's anywhere from a really integrated and seamless curbside pickup and on-demand delivery solution, all the way to QR code ordering or even mobile shopping experiences. Really a really deep feature set. And sort of speaking of that, I think the final point is it's just integrated into Square's entire ecosystem. So obviously, starting with our points of sale, but it's has deep and seamless integrations with appointments and marketing and gift cards and loyalty and customer directory and pretty much the whole thing. So it really is a product that's deeply integrated into the ecosystem that sellers know and love today. So let's look a little bit into the future as to what might come next. If 2020 was a year to adapt and 2021 a year to refine and lock in gains, what do you think is coming next?
I think successful businesses are going to continue to double down on what's working, continue to look at how they can better digitize their operations. 2020 proved that digitization was critical to survival, but I think what we're going to see is sellers realizing that digitization is critical to thriving, and the ones that do that are the ones that are going to thrive, and it's the solutions that all of our developers are building that are going to enable them to do that and to really kind of up-level the operations of their business. So what do you think is going to happen in 2021?
Well, with a lot of sellers I talked to, 2020 was just a crazy year, and it was do everything you can to stay afloat, adapting for sure, and a lot of people now are looking at going forward and saying, okay, we don't want to get rid of a lot of these solutions, but we're taking a really critical look at what platform we're based on. And we want to make sure that it's not just a cobbled together feature set, but it's actually a platform that is cohesive, that works together, that does everything you need that you could actually build on top of for the future. So I think in 2021, I think a lot of sellers are going to be taking a hard look at their platform, and they're going to want to choose one that's really cohesive and integrated and a platform to build on top of.
I think that's right on. And if the last year taught us anything, it's like being able to be on a platform that is able to adapt quickly and rapidly, even in ways that you can't anticipate today, I think is going to be something they're going to continue to want.
Couldn't be more true. And like you said earlier, consumer preferences aren't changing. We're certainly not seeing that. So, a lot of these things will continue on to the future, and it's just a matter of continuing to build on that strength, coming out of a lot of the adaptation that's happened.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, thanks for joining us. It was great to see you in person.
Likewise, great to see you, and hopefully we'll get to see you again in person sometime soon.
And thanks everyone for joining us for this Fireside Chat, and I hope you're enjoying Unboxed.